Hello, and welcome to a replay analysis with me, ViBE, and today we're looking at a PvZ Monk versus Slutty Magoo. This is what league is this? I think it's Platinum. Bad manner, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, but I think I remember seeing Platinum. I might be wrong. I'll see what he says in a second, but replay analysis, the way this works, guys, is I'll be helping. I'm sure you guys have seen one of these before, but if not, I help whoever I'm looking at, which today is going to be Mr. Monk here, get better at StarCraft. I'll help them figure out ways they can improve what they're doing, ways of things they're doing that are not really that great already, just ways to improve as a player overall. This is actually, if it's been confirmed, it's currently Diamond League. It's 4K MMR. So, yeah, let's jump right into it, boys. PvZ. All right, so good shit already. Good job. You rallied the Nexus to the natural. You're gonna set up your expansion. This is already looking great. Loving every second of this so far. Get your pylon down. I love. Okay, good. I was gonna say I for a second I thought your probe might just run down now, but I like that you're keeping it here defensively to get ready to build the gateway, and then you can scout. I 100% agree with this. Pylon scouts. I want to tell you right now, I'm going to pause it really fast, and we're going to move on past this really quick, but pylon scouts only make sense if you are diamond plus. Pylons, and they never make sense, by the way. If you're below diamond, never do it. Always either gateway scout or just scout after you build a nexus. If you're going to macro. You don't need to scout after a pylon. But if you are diamond plus, pylon scouts only make sense if you are going to go for a adept pressure build. Like 2 adepts really fucking fast, attack, 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 and then you're going to follow it up with another timing. If you're an aggressive player, pylon scouts make sense. If you are not aggressive, do not pylon scout ever. I'm glad you're not, because this insinuates that you're going to go for a natural. It makes more sense, and you don't have to freak out and scout for forever, because this probe doing a gateway scout is easily going to be in time to scout everything you need to see. So, good shit on the gateway scout. I like it. And then now you can scout, and that's totally fine. Good shit. That's perfect. So far, really good. Nice chrono boost. You chronoed right when the pylon was done. That's really nice. Perfect. I like your build. Your build is wonderful so far. Wunderbar. Are you doing a weed stream tonight? No, bro. Doing an edible stream tonight. Not just weed. It's more in there. It's laced with PCP. I don't even know what that is really. Angel dust, boys. I'm just kidding, YouTube. Okay, please don't flag my video. I'm just joking. Don't do drugs, kids. Link of their video in after my video's over. I don't mind. Okay. So what did you just see? You just saw. You just saw a zerg have a very late natural, and you saw a zerg who has a gas that is starting and a pool that is basically done. What this build looks like is it is a pool hatch gas opener, which means he's definitely gone for an early pool. Now, with this being said, the best way you can react to this is look at his larva. Look at his larva, and you can tell what the hell's going to happen to a degree. Some people like to open up for an early pool. This is rare, but I'll just say this right now. Some people open up for a really early pool, and they still make drones. The reason why they open up early pool is if they see with their overlord, like the first overlord, if they see something that looks aggressive, like for instance a cannon rush, they might just make lings then. But it's more of a defensive pool where they're like, I'm afraid of cannon rushes and I don't want to die. I need lings. Some people play ultra defensive like that. It's rare, but it can happen. So just because you see a pool, don't always just rule it out like, okay, early lings. Yep, that's what he's doing. He's going to attack me. Because all you got to look at now to pair it is you look at the early pool and you look at existing larvae. So if you look at his hatchery, you can see a couple larvae already wiggling around. He's saving larvae already. Yes, there are a couple eggs already out right now, but he is saving larvae. That makes no sense to have 2 larvae sitting there if he was not saving it. And it also lined up in the fact that the pool's almost done. So if your probe just sat here just for a second, I don't really like that it left, but I mean, if you would have saw right here, the overlord spawns and suddenly 3 eggs appear on the hatchery, you can kind of assume This is going to be early lings. Now this guy's build is a little fucked up. It is a little fucked up, which is why he's not able to make all three at once. He's making one by one, which means his pressure is going to be really weak. But you can safely assume, like I would say this, you can safely assume that he's probably going to make lings because it doesn't make any sense for him to save the larva when his pool is almost done. Like he probably has an overlord ready to pop and then suddenly lings get made. That is most likely what this is going to be. That is the very common version of a 12 pool. The thing that's kind of weird though is he went 12 pool and then he like took a hatchery really fast. The reason why he's having larva problems is because he went for such a fast hatchery. This hatchery fucked up his larva. And the reason why it fucked up his larva is because you cannot afford to spend your larva if you spike the hatchery so fast. So now what does that do? He larva capped just a little bit. I guarantee he larva capped when he took the hatchery and then again when the overlord popped out. So 2 larva caps for a few seconds here both times. And then on top of that, guaranteed now what's happening as a result of this is his 6 ling pressure is going to be very weak. It's going to be like 2 lings, 2 lings, 2 lings. It's not going to be all 6 at once. So your chances of you holding this now go way up. And I would, if I were you now, I would question this guy's build a little bit as to the effectiveness of it. It's not the most efficient way you could open up with a 12 pool against Protoss. Because he's kind of like investing into pressure, but then he's weakening his own pressure by going hatchery first. And then he's delaying the larva. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyways, you should be expecting ling pressure very likely. It's probably going to happen. Because otherwise, what was the point of him building it like that? And it's really early ling pressure. So I would say the fact that you built the core first, I like it. I do like it a lot. The fact that you're about to build a Nexus, this is now a bit risky. This is a bit risky. I will say this game specifically, you're going to be able to get away with it. You should be able to get away with it because his pressure, the way he opened, looked like crap. It was very inefficient. It was an inefficient version of it. But if you play someone who does it correctly, which is basically they go 12 pool, they go up to 14 drones, make an overlord, and then they make 6 lings. And as they make 6 lings, they take their natural then. If you play someone who does that, where they actually prioritize the first 6 lings, you cannot go Nexus before Zealot. You have to go Zealot first if it's efficient. You have to know this, because if you don't, you're going to get fucked. If anyone actually 12 pulls you for real, and you don't go Zealot, you will die. You also have to chrono boost that Zealot, because it will not pop out in time. Guaranteed. Like, by the time you scout it with a Gateway Scout, if you just then make a Zealot, like by the time your ling or your probe should get to his base with a probe scout, as you're here, you should see eggs being made, and then they spawn at like 125, like 120, something like that, like pretty fucking fast. So keep that in mind. Like you need to, you definitely would need to have made a Zealot first if it was efficient. We'll see how you go from here. I know you're gonna go for Nexus because you're saving. You should definitely make a Zealot now. I would highly recommend making a Zealot. I do also... Okay, so this is more advanced. I didn't honestly think you were going to do this. I thought you were going to just run home. This is good. I actually like this a lot. This is like... I'm not going to lie to you. This is already, like, in my opinion, like Masters. So the fact that you're doing this makes a lot of sense. If you're willing to leave your probe in front of his base, I would say the only mistake I think you made is you should have left your probe maybe like right there. Not right there. The reason why is because if he sees you with the Overlord like he does, he could fool you by running up like this out of fog of war, out of your vision, and then suddenly you're like, I don't need a Zealot, we're good, and then 6 lings walk over here, kill the pylon, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, I kind of did need a Zealot. So your probe is a little out of position for this purpose if you're going to leave it here, and you could then make a Zealot as a reaction to him sending lings at you. That is not bad. That is actually good. This is very good if you put it a little bit further back so there's no blind side. But yeah, the concept, really, really, really good. And there's some lings coming at your base right now. Now how are you going to react to this? You make a Zealot, and you should wall off, and you should definitely chrono boost. You should wall off. It looks like that's what you're going to do. You should definitely rain your probe, though. And now you can wall. Alright, yeah, that's fine. Oh, you fucked your wall up. There you go. Okay, well that was okay. A little bit of a blunder there on 2 sides. Obviously, you want to make sure you don't fuck up that wall. I'm glad you checked it and you fixed it, but fixing that's a huge, and then also leaving your Zealot in the whole position is huge too. The only time you ever want to move the zealot is if he's attacking a building and you can poke it, and you always immediately back up right after you poke it. You never want to leave the door open. This Ling, I'm glad you're not chasing it. You should not chase this Ling. But it's annoying now because it's now going to scout you for free. This should not kill probes. This is not going to kill probes. But if you leave this door open, you are going to fuck yourself because you allow more Lings to get in your base, and you do not want that to happen. Worst case scenario right now, if you let a Ling get in your base like that, every time he attacks a probe, you just smack him with like 1 or 2 probes as well. Do not grab your whole mineral line. Just like 1 or 2 probes. Poke his ass. He will run away from you because the Ling regenerates pretty slowly. So it'll die otherwise. And then as soon as you eventually make an Adept or a Stalker, have that kill it in your base. But leave the Zealot in the door. And you chase it. This is incorrect. Now he walks more in your base with more shit. This is a huge mistake. Because what is this really doing? It's doing nothing. The fact that he's already seen this, and I think he might have even seen that with an Overlord before he even had a Ling in your base. Like, look at this. Just kidding. He didn't even leave his base. So this guy is very fucking paranoid about all-ins. His first Overlord, this is exactly why, like the concept of why he said he would do it is exactly why he's doing it. He's super defensive. He's the kind of guy he's not looking to prioritize damage to you. He's just super defensive, and he's really paranoid about like a cannon rush. He's actually not scouting you at all. So we'll get cool. We'll go ahead and speed it up now, back to where we just were. But yeah, like the fact, as soon as he saw the Nexus, the point is as soon like if he would have seen this with an Overlord, or if he would have seen this with a Zergling, either way, this already tells the Zerg what you're doing, for the most part. Like, yeah, you might have to delay your tech for just a little bit longer now if you really don't want him to see it. But the fact that you're expanding is already going to tell the Zerg that he can make drones now. So it's whatever either way. And if you're not doing a build that's very all-in, I would say throw your tech down in his face. Who gives a shit? Like, if you're going to play a defensive build, not based off of, like, a timing attack, just build your tech. Who cares? It's annoying that it's in your base, but just fucking build it. I'm glad. Okay, perfect. You're going Stargate. This is like the epitome of not an all-in. This is the epitome of playing a macro game. Stargate is like the best. Just, hey, I'm in a macro and I don't give a fuck. We're going to both play a macro game. Stargate reinforces that the most. And the fact that you're building it now is not going to delay your third if you were to do like an Oracle opener or something like that. So I'm glad you just built it, but I highly dislike how you ran away from your wall with your Zealot. Now, what should really be happening is the Stalker should be the one chasing the Ling, and the Zealot should be the one in the doorway, because this Ling would now die if a Stalker was killing it. And you did both. Okay. Yeah, that's risky. Don't ever do that. That's so risky. Your Stalker's also too far forward. I don't know if you do that normally. That's way too far forward. Your Stalker needs to be standing like literally like right there. Because right now what's going to happen is 3 Lings could hit your Stalker. 3 Lings could literally fit on your Stalker if you were to get attacked and you don't move it back. Where if you put it in the doorway, like if it was standing like right there, only 1 Ling at a time could kill it. Late core? This is definitely not a late core. He might have got late warp gate, but that's definitely not a late core. His core was built first. So that's just a blunder in a sense where, you know, you kind of missed it because you were distracted by your scout. You're like, oh, Lings, I'm freaking out. Oh, shit. And then he also had the mindset right now where he goes, I need to build a gateway right now really fast. So that's why he had also a late core. I'm saying what you said now. He has late warp gate. He wanted to prioritize a gateway so he could not die to a 6 Ling run by or like an early Ling pressure. The fact that you did not get warp gate, I'm not going to lie, it's not the end of the world because you're not doing a warp gate all in. You're not doing a warp gate timing. You're doing a Stargate looks like macro build. So I feel like what makes sense the most here is you taking a 3rd base with the Stargate. So the fact that your warp gate's a little delayed is not the end of the world. It's whatever. I mean, it's obviously ideal to get it when you need it, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's not that bad. Because your build is not designed to do a timing. from the looks of it so far. I like your battery. This is good. Made an oracle. I would love it if your oracle goes over here and kills the overlord. Or you're just kidding. You're making a phoenix. I don't care now. You could actually go straight to his base. If you make a phoenix second, you don't need to use the oracle to kill his overlord. But if you just would have made one oracle and stopped, then you should have done it. Okay. I would say I think you got lucky there. I disagree with how you microed that. Personally. I think you should have just... Not because you pulled back, went forward. Pulled back, went forward. I don't... That's obviously not good. But that's not really what I'm talking about. It's the choice of going for a stasis ward. That should never work. And the reason why that should never work is because your opponent is not being distracted by anything. The only time stasis wards work is if you do one of them at a time when you're doing something else, or when you're doing multiple of them at the same time, usually when the Zerg is on 3+ bases. When you're doing just your first oracle with the stasis ward and then you're leaving, just know that this will never work on Zergs at a certain point. Like, you were way better off killing like maybe 3 drones here, 4 drones here, and then running away, rather than doing what you did. Because the fact that, like, I don't know why he didn't pull all of his drones back, but he easily could have. Apparently he just like missed the green box. He did like that. He probably like didn't select everything because he panicked. But like right here, here's another thing he could do too. Another thing he could have probably done, I'm dead serious, is if he was fast about it, if he was just fast about it, and he green boxes middle line like this too. This is why you should also never put this inside the middle line, by the way. If he green boxed it like this, he's got 4 fucking seconds to react. Okay, 4 seconds. This thing generates, you know, like maybe like 8 hit points a second, realistically. It started off with 9 because I think it starts with a bit more when its current build time is there. But anyways, he could green box and he could attack the actual stasis ward itself, and it would die very fast. The queen and like 3 drone hits would kill this right now. Like if he did it right away within the first second. Most people won't do that, but if you put it in the middle line, they could do that. You totally could do it. But if you put it like back here, it finishes too fast. The queen itself cannot kill it, and the drones having to transfer around the back of the middle line and go around to attack it, it'll never work. It'll never work if you put it like there. But then the stasis ward also would hit like the whole edge of the middle line. This is greedy as fuck, because yeah, if you land it, you're going to disable like the whole middle line. But again, if there's no multitask going on here, it should never work. So the fact that the Zerg green boxed like half of his drones and then ran away like that, and lets the other half just to get hit anyways, this is very fail by the Zerg to let this happen. This ended up, I'm not gonna lie, it paid off like really well for you. This was very worth it the way it went, but that should have never happened. That was very greedy play by you and very poor play by the Zerg for that to have worked like that. So don't expect that to go that way. Do not think that that was a good... It was a great move that ended up working out for you really well, but do not think that it logically is a good move to make. That should never go that way. What should happen is all of his drones get away from it, and he sets it off, and then it's over because he's looking at it because it's the only thing that's happening right now. Or he kills it straight up, and then it's over. So, yeah. I don't want you to think that that was a great idea. It would have made sense though if you were like attacking his third and then you went over here and stasis ward like the side of his middle line. That'd be great then, because he's currently occupied elsewhere, and now the chances are way higher that it would actually work. Okay, back to your build. So right now you should be taking a third base, especially for 2 reasons. One is you're opening up with a macro build. You're going skytoss right away. Oof, that's just scary. This is even more reason as well to take your third really fast if you're trying to go skytoss. So number 1, you killed the overlord. He has no scout right now. He has some new scout over here, which you can zone out and push away and kill it. But you should definitely start your third get it going, because you're in that range of time right now where it makes sense. If you take your third between 4:45 and 5 minutes, anywhere in that range of time, that is a good, well-timed third base. I'm going to say right now, I think you should have built your third before your second Stargate and your fleet beacon. You could have made these after if you wanted to go skytoss. The fact that you're rushing the fleet beacon and the Stargate is kind of solidifying you into a slow amount of production. You might make your first carrier faster, but you're going to get to like 5 carriers. Guaranteed you're going to get to 10 carriers slower. Because you're going to have less money, because you're foregoing your expansions longer and you're prioritizing your tech. 1 carrier is a piece of shit by itself, by the way. Like, you need a lot of carriers for them to feel good. So the fact that you're going to guarantee you're going to pace slowly now at getting to a higher number. The higher the number goes, the slower you're going to get there. When you do shit like this, you should definitely take in your third first. Especially since now your Oracle can now be defensive. And now, to actually utilize this tech properly, you did what you did what you kind of need to do, which is increase your supply, because you need 12 supply just to make 2 carriers, and you only have 9 open, so you need to make more pylons again right now, and then you need 700 minerals and 500 gas to make 2 carriers. This is like almost 1,000 minerals and 500 gas to make 2 carriers right now. That's expensive as fuck. And if you make a Nexus first, you're going to have 1 Stargate sitting here for a long time doing nothing. And also, if you think about the fact that if you would have made a Nexus at like 4:45, look at this Stargate you made early before the fleet beacon was done. The Stargate's been sitting here as well for a little bit, and it will sit here longer and longer. One of these Stargates is definitely not going to build as well right away. So you build these really early. You physically don't have enough gas to support them yet, because you just started mining this gas recently too. So the point is a little bit early on the tech in the second Stargate. Third first would have been a better idea. And now let's watch your third base and how delayed it is. 4:45 is when you should have taken it, realistically. 5 is not really acceptable for 2 gateway Stargate. 5 minutes is more acceptable if your build is like Robo 4 gateway, where it's like 5 production buildings, not 3. You can definitely you could even take it even faster than 4:45 if your plan is to literally go fucking skytoss. Because if you're gonna go skytoss, you're not gonna go heavy gateway, generally speaking. So if you're going to go skytoss, you could have taken your third at like 4:15 to 4:30. Legit. I'm dead serious. Like, you totally could have had the money then. And you're making multiple zealots. I disagree with multiple zealots. The fact that you have 3 zealots right now is pure shit. I understand you don't want to make units that cost gas, which is why you just made the 1 stalker and that you're going to call it a day. But instead of making zealots, I would rather you have made nothing or have made a forge and then got ready to start making cannons. Zealots are the biggest piles of shit right now that are a waste of your minerals. And you would have been better off just taking a faster third and then adding on a forge and like cannoning up your third and natural or something like that to supplement the mineral cost of your excess. Zealots blow ass until they have charge. I'm being honest. Like, that unit is fucking garbage right now. I'm looking at it. It's like 2 turds just walking around. They just stink. Get them out of here. I hope they kill each other. You know what these zealots deserve? They deserve to fight each other, and whatever dies, the probe should kill the winner. Get him the fuck out of here. Get him out. This zealot's okay, because you needed to make it early for the purpose of the potential 12 pool he could have been done to you. That makes sense. But these guys, the bash bros walking around to your third right now, get him out of here. Get him out. I don't even like looking at him. Now watch your Stargates. Your fleet beacon's done at like 5:31. And watch your 2 Stargates. 5:31, right? Okay, so you make your 2 carriers, and you managed to do it, and you made enough supply for it, which is what I said you would have had to have done. You had to. This is like 1,000. This is literally 900 minerals and 500 gas. If you made a third pylon, that would have been 1,000. But this is 900 minerals and 500 gas. It's fucking expensive right now. Super expensive. But now this is at the cost of a ridiculously late third. Your third is over a minute late. For where, like, again, if you go 2 gate Stargate, 4:30 is generous. 4:15 is more realistic. 4:15 to 4:30 for 3 production cycle buildings would have been realistic there. And I don't care if you have a second gateway. That counts as Or wait, I just said that wrong. Sorry. What I'm saying is right. I didn't mean to say what I just said. 2 gateway, 1 Stargate is what I'm trying to say. It's yeah. You could have made these carriers. The funny thing is too. You want to know the crazy thing? You could have made these carriers roughly about the same time you did anyways. You could have actually started both of your carriers with a third base around 5:45. The reason why I say that and why that sounds crazy is if you actually did not make turdy bash bros, if you didn't make these crappy units right here, and then you just made your third base faster and you prioritized probes, you could actually have your third base finished already. If you made it, if you made your third base at like 4:15, okay, 4:15 third base. That is, and that's very realistic again. Your third base would have been done at like 5:26, which would have meant you would have had the last 20 seconds to utilize mining from your third base, which would have increased your income to like 2,200 or 2,300 right now, because you'd be mining off of an efficient mineral line with all of your probes, and you would have been able to supplement the extra resource cost of take away the zealots, add in a nexus. You make more money this way. And you could have started your carriers. You could have then made a later Stargate and a later fleet beacon. And then you could have made, the second they were done, you could have made these units. So it's about maximizing your efficiency of everything. So if we look at when you made, just watch this, okay? Your first Stargate, I don't give a shit that your first Stargate makes an Oracle and a Phoenix and then it goes idle for a bit. You're using these units to scout your opponent and also eliminate his scouting. And in the meantime, maybe kill an Overlord here and there or kill a couple drones or whatever. It makes sense to make the early first Stargate because it allows you also to secure a third like this. The fact that your Oracle's here, it makes sense. Watch how much time goes by though when these units, these two buildings don't do shit. This could have been a third base that could have been doing something to make more money to still give you the 5:45 double carrier. Watch this. Your Stargate's done at 5:18. 5:18 Stargate. 5:18 Stargate. And then your fleet beacon is done at 5:30. Fleet beacon. So your Stargate sits there for like almost like 25 seconds or so before you make a you made a carrier at 5:41. So 23 seconds of just idle time on this Stargate, and 11 seconds of idle time on your fleet beacon. You could have made these buildings slightly later, did not make the zealots over here, prioritize the third, and you would, I guarantee, be making double carrier roughly about the same time. It's just you would have a third that would be done right now, and you would actually have probes being mining from it. So that is fucking huge. And that is the difference of you falling really far behind right now or actually maintaining. And then you're not making probes for a bit here and there again. Okay, now you're going charge lots. Okay. I'm not going to say I hate the build, but I fucking hate the build. No, I'm joking. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's fine. You're doing a carrier opener, and then you're gonna follow it up with like a. You might go full-fledged skytoss, and you might just throw zealots at him all day. And if this was your plan, I honestly would say if you wanted this to be your plan, I would say okay, now necessarily you don't need a forge. You still should not have made these two zealots when you did. You still could have made your third base and your double carrier the way I just told you to, and then you could have added on council and your extra gates like you just did just now. The fact that you made these after your third makes sense. It makes sense that you made these after your third. And then you could go charge lot carrier, and that would be fine if that's what you want to do. But you should have prioritized a third. There is no way you're going to be able to realistically stay in a good macro spot with a fucking third as late as this. You have to think about the timer, and if your third is at the point where it's going to be finished after 7 minutes, if you're not even effectively mining from your third beyond 7 minutes, there's only one excuse for any type of a build that should be in this realm of time, and that is if you did an all-in. Your build was along the cycle of if you just did like an Immortal Sentry all-in, Or you did like a mass all in with like adepts, or a mass all in with like blink stalkers or charge lots, prism charge lot all in. The only way your build looks like an all in, but it's not. It's a macro build, so it's just paced slowly, and we just talked about all of that as to why that is. Also, okay, here's another thing too. I actually, even though I told you you don't necessarily need a forge, I actually do think you do need one, but you don't need to make cannons. And the reason why is if you are going to go for charge lots, if your build is going to be charge lot carrier, there are 2 upgrades that are incredibly important, and they're both weapon upgrades. Air weapon and ground weapon. Because if you fight against ground units with roaches, especially the Zergling variety, you fucking really want to have +1. It's going to make a world of difference for your zealots, and it's very minor in the gas department, and it's going to severely increase the damage of your zealots. I usually get shield for archons. Okay, that's if you go for shield upgrades, here's the thing. If you want to go shield upgrades, I don't mind that, but you definitely should not prioritize that. So if you are going to go for shield upgrades, a later forge is okay again then. But I would say if you're going to go shield upgrades, if your plan is to go carrier, archon, and then charge lots just fill in the rest, my question to you would be, why do you have so many gateways right now? I don't like how many gateways you have. That makes no sense again. You have definitely put a heavy emphasis on zealots right now. Because you do not have enough gas to make archons right now. You can barely afford to make your carriers like you're making them yet, like so far. You can barely afford carriers. You can't even afford an upgrade right now while you're making carriers because you don't have enough gas or minerals, but minerals come by really fast. But your gas is still under par. So if you make all these, if you're making all these gateways for the idea of archon eventually, too many too early, and if you're going to utilize this many gates for lots of zealots at this point in time, there's no reason to not get +1 weapons. Do you see my point? Like if you were going to go for just a few charge lots and go into faster archons and go for shield upgrades with carrier, instead of making 6 fucking gates, it would have probably made sense to stay on like 3 gates or 2 gates and take a faster 4th base to make gas faster. Maybe even take a faster 5th base. You should be expanding faster then, not trying to do tons of zealot run-bys. Or not amassing a wave of zealots over and over and over and just having like 30 zealots sit in your base for no reason. This is way too many fucking zealots to not have an upgrade. If you actually utilize this consistently, you would have like by 9 minutes you'd have probably like 35 zealots or like 30 zealots. Because you already have 9 of them already, and you right now you can go up to 15 right now. Yeah, this is too early. You can't afford this. Temple Archives is way too fast. Your build is very vulnerable. I'm going to throw that out there. If the opponent, if you're a Zerg opponent, went for Spire, I don't understand how you wouldn't die. Because you don't have cannon, like you're going for light carriers. Like you're just peppering in the carriers. You're just making a little bit here and there. You are not supplementing the carriers with either batteries or cannons to counteract when you have a low amount of carriers. What if he goes Corruptors and just charges you down? You don't have any cannon battery. You have a couple battery, but you have no cannon. And then on top of that, instead of making more carriers, you're making more gas into other things now. Like you're getting ready to go into Temple Archives. So now, right now, I would say you're vulnerable to like Corruptor timings. If you would have just gone for like a bunch of Corruptors, your ground army cannot help your air army, and you don't have enough air army to really fight back that well, and you have no static D to help you either. But then if you start going into Archon, this now does make your life a little bit easier against Corruptor. However, what if your opponent goes like mass Hydras now? What if your opponent goes mass Hydra and you only have a few carrier? And then you have Archon as well, which are all weak to Hydra. Carriers in large numbers destroy Hydra. They really do. But carriers in low numbers, what happens to Hydra is the hydra just kill all the interceptors really quickly, and then the carriers are just dead weight. They're like paperweights that fly around. So you just get fucked. So the fact that you don't have enough emphasis on a faster buildup of your carrier is scary. You're vulnerable to a lot of things. And the fact that you're going into Archons really fast now, again, I feel like Hydras now could just run your ass over. If this guy knows how to make a good economy and then just go mass Hydra, I think he would die to that. Both Carrier and Low Number and Archon and Zealot are all weak to Hydra. The only way these units would ever beat Hydra is if you can overwhelm Hydra. And you can only overwhelm Hydra if you can match supply with Hydra. And you want to know what happens when a Zerg goes mass Hydra and you make units like Carrier fucking Archon? Your units are way more expensive than his. And your supply will usually be down by like 40, 50. He'll be at 130, 140. He'll be at like 180, 190, 200. So, scary as fuck for you. So the fact that this Zerg is pushing you with a very tiny army, he's pushing you with 11 Hydras. Or sorry, this is 13. 13 Hydras. That's not enough Hydras. He also doesn't even have either upgrade on them. He has no speed or range. It's not great. This is very, very, very impatient by the Zerg is the best word to use here. He's very, very impatient. This is not a good attack by him. So if the Zerg allows you to bleed his army out like this, then your build will feel strong because the Zerg is 100% going to lose this fight. He doesn't have enough, and he doesn't even have upgrades on his Hydras. He has one weapon upgrade, but he doesn't actually have either Hydra upgrade yet. He hasn't even started them. So, and he doesn't, again, the biggest one is he doesn't have enough of them. He is actually at a supply deficit, not a supply lead, which is baffling because his army is very cheap. Yours is very expensive. This just means that your macro is like leaps and bounds ahead of the Zerg here, wherever this player is. Now, when you go skytoss and you do expensive armies like this, no matter what, you should definitely take your next expansion. Every time. The second you take a fight like that and you're like, oh, cool, I just killed a Zerg army, expand. If you do not expand right now, I do not know why you wouldn't expand right now. You definitely need it. Your composition is fucking expensive as hell. And you also just got map control. So if you're going for an expensive army and you're also, and on top of that, even better, you have map control, there's no reason to not expand. And then you kind of stop making probes now. So this looks like this is kind of just where you want to be. You're going to like do a semi 3-base all in now. Okay, good. You're expanding. I'm glad. It's a bit late, but yeah. I'm glad you do it. There still is no forge right now. Also, you said I like to get shield upgrades for Archons, and I actually am going to say this. I agree with that if your league was not Diamond. I would be like, oh yeah, shield upgrades are great. Because you know why I would say that? It's not because of Archons. It's because of run buys of Zerg, and if you actually went for cannon battery, it makes your bases last so much better against run buys. If you're going to go Archons and Carriers, and you're not going to make static D, you should actually go weapon upgrades. And the reason why is because weapon upgrades are going to make your Archons fucking destroy Corruptors. Like, they're going to massacre Corruptor. Because the damage of an Archon is always the 35. It's never 25 versus Zerg. It's always 35. And there's two reasons why this is better. Number one is you get more than one value per upgrade. Each time you upgrade shields, it's +1, +1, +1. Okay, cool. Each time you upgrade weapons for an Archon, it's +4, +4, +4. The damage of an Archon, when it's level 3 weapons versus biological, goes to 47. It practically almost 4-shots a Corruptor, because it's almost 50, and a Corruptor has 200 hit points. Now, there is also armor for a Corruptor too that takes this down, but it guarantees an Archon is going to 5-shot a Corruptor. So if you have 5 Archons, and a ball of corruptors comes at your carriers, all 5 Archons go in the center of the corruptor pack, and 10 corruptors fucking die immediately. Like, it's ridiculously strong. So definitely upgrade your weapons. It's going to make, and you're making the corruptor mainly, I would say the main purpose of this unit, because you're going carrier, is to kill corruptor. If you say it's to kill Hydra, or if you say it's to kill Baneling, or if you say it's to kill anything that is not a corruptor, it is pointless, because that is what the carrier is good for. The carrier is only vulnerable to corruptors. Realistically. Like, yeah, someone might be like, fucking neural parasite vibe, what about a Viper? No. Like, Archons are not going to be able to have 20 feet arms, and the range an Archon can shoot at a unit, the only thing that can dive into a carrier that is scary for a carrier is a corruptor. Hydras also do not count, because the reason why Hydras don't count is because realistically, your carriers, if you have enough of them, are just going to fucking mow the lawn of Hydras. Like, all the interceptors go out, and then Hydras are just deleted. They're just gone. They're all going to die super fast if you have enough carrier. So, Archons, whole purpose in life right now is to kill corruptor. So if you make like 5 Archons, you should probably stop at 5. I would say 5 is the magic number of no more. If you actually get Storm with this, you can stop at 3 or 4, because now you also have Storm damage. That supplements for like Archon DPS as well. It's pure AoE, and it does a lot. So if you have like 3 or 4 Archons and some Templar, that's great. If you have no Templar, 5 Archons is amazing. Those are magic numbers that just fucking wreck Zerg. But yeah, shield upgrades again. They only make sense. They only make sense if you're gonna go for static D and you're worried about run bys. Otherwise, it only makes sense then to go shield upgrades after you have prioritized the more important one, and it's just the next one, because it'll just, yes, it still gives you a benefit, but it's not as much of a benefit as weapons. So going for weapons all the way to 3 and then going shields to 3 off of 1 forge would be great. And this brings us back to the original thing I said, where there's 2 things, and the first one I described was multiple benefits of the number. Like, you get 4 damage per upgrade, not 1 per upgrade when you do shields. Now the other benefit you get out of going for weapons instead of shields is weapons are cheaper. They don't cost as much gas, which is the big limiting resource of your resources here. If they cost less gas to go weapon upgrades, more gas suddenly to make Archons faster, and also more gas to make carriers faster. A shield upgrade is not going to fucking save you if you don't have enough units. What will save you, though, is enough Archons to properly kill Corruptor, or enough carriers to kill literally everything else. That will save you. That will win you the game. So delaying your shit with shield upgrades is going to make it... You're going to max out slow at a little bit of a slower pace, because it's extra gas that you wouldn't have needed to have spent. Like, it's like an extra carrier, like an extra Archon. And again, these units are units that are not... You're not going to have like 50 carriers or 60 carriers where one unit doesn't mean a lot. You're going to have like 15 or like 13 or 14 where one actually makes a bit of a difference. It does quite... It changes a big percentage of how many you have. Like 1 out of 15 is quite a lot. It's like 6%. Like, you know, somewhere around there. It's actually a big chunk of your army. Yeah, at this point, he just doesn't have enough because of what he did earlier. And now, here's also why I tell you to get cannons. This dude, if you had like 3 cannons or 4 cannons here, even if you don't have shield battery upgrades, or shield upgrades from the forge, you go weapon upgrades. If you just had like 3 cannons here, 3 cannons and like 3 batteries right now, you know what you could do to fuck this guy over? Those cannons and batteries would initially start killing a lot of these lings. And this is not like a full base rate amount of lings that's very acceptable. This is like 40 lings or so. Like 44 lings, something around there. What you could do, your cannons initially could kill lings. You could warp in zealots as well. Just warp in a wave of zealots with your battery cannon. And then if it's still a little bit too much, take your Nexus and overcharge one of your batteries. And I guarantee you will kill this. But the fact that you just completely neglected the fact of a forge, you allow him now to fuck your base up. Like this is the game-winning move you're doing right now. This is getting the Zerg back in the game. You could have easily put a few cannons and batteries here. You did put batteries, but there's no cannons. And then look at your upgrade, your Nexus, or sorry, your gateways. You could do a full fucking zealot warp in right now. You have the supply open, and you also have the money for it, but you're not warping anything in. Are you even looking at this? Do you ever acknowledge that that's happening? That's my next question. You even saw the Lings run by your army. You're physically looking at the screen right now, and you watch the Lings run past your carriers. So you know, and you got a reconfirmation with your Phoenix over here on the minimap, that he's running to your third base. So if you saw this, you should be thinking, that should be like that trigger where you're like, well, he's about to attack my base. Get ready to make zealots. So your immediate reaction should be, get a fucking unit in the doorway, which you have, which is great. This is never going to break. Again, no, you're way too fucking far forward. It should be like right there. Just like I said earlier. It's way too exposed. But you should warp in units here, because this is the most exposed, this is the most important base that is exposed. If he does a fucking beeline straight north right now and kills this base, so be it. Whatever. But, you know, shit happens. But this base is not as important as this base. If this base dies and all the probes die, that's massive damage. Now, if you have cannons, no bases need to die. Because if you had cannon battery here, you warp in zealots at either base he chooses to go to, you're good to go. But if you don't have any cannons at all, I would say maybe make zealots a little bit earlier. Like maybe make zealots like now. Because it gives you a chance in case you start losing the fight, where your gateways will be off cooldown faster, where you might make another 6 zealots. You know what I mean? But no reaction at all is very poor. Like there's no reason to have no reaction here. You should be able to look at that Hydra count and go, yeah, he's not winning this fight, and then not worry about it. A-move it for a second, and you're not reacting at all to the Lings. You have 0 reaction to the Lings. All it would have taken is like 1 or 2 seconds of a reaction to save that, and now you look at it way after the fact. That's just like a neglect of what's important there. Yeah, you definitely should make... as soon as you're going to... the thing about StarCraft 2 is the second you have a death ball... This is... I'm not going to say this is a death ball, by the way. It's working towards one, but it's definitely really low supply. Oh, but the only reason... You know, 2 MBZ. 2 megabytes. Thank you very much for the 4-month resub. I appreciate you. Thank you. The only reason why... I'm not going to say that you moving out when you did is incorrect. Why why it's actually okay you did it. It's not incorrect. It's okay that you moved out when you did. The reason why I would say that is because, number 1, you got lucky with your stasis, which slowed him down. Number 2, you killed his hatchery with your carriers, which again slowed him down. Number 3, he threw a fucking army away. Hydra Bane, he threw all of it away and killed basically nothing. After all that, this attack makes logical sense because you're way ahead and you could push your lead a bit more onto him. And if you ever realized that the Zerg like overcommitted and he made no fucking drones and he went pure army again, and you were like, holy shit, he actually has kind of a respectable army. Yet he still should be behind though. You could just recall your army and sit back and turtle and eventually max out. That'd be fine too. Like you have the ability to recall. But the fact that you pushed made sense because he was so far behind. But when you push with an army that is slow, powerful but slow, you should never fucking leave your bases exposed. You should always build static D. If you're Zerg going Broodlords, you build static D. If you're Terran who goes mass PF or goes mass Thors and shit like that, you make PFs. If you're Protoss who goes mass carrier, you make cannon battery. You have to make static D because this one right here is like a waste. This is just the way you just throw the game in the trash can. This is not necessarily... This didn't need to happen. You could have easily shut this down from the Zerg. This was not threatening at all, but yet it wiped out an entire base, which is terrible for you. Otherwise, biggest things to fix in your build, honestly, make that fucking forge, get a weapon upgrade instead, and then when you're ready to move out, make cannons as you do that so that you don't have undefended bases. And the last thing I could say to you that would help your build a lot too is as soon as you start making cannons at all your bases, make a dark shrine. And the reason why I tell you to do that is because if your opponent ever does launch a big fucking counterattack against you and you're not ready to deal with it and you're like, okay, well that's just too much. I can't deal with that. It gives you the option to do one of 2 things. If you have to base trade, DTs are amazing at base trades. Or if you can defend your base with cloaked units because maybe you picked off his detection, it gives you the option to do that. Maybe you can dive your carriers into an overseer, like your interceptors might suicide into a shitload of hydras to kill off an overseer. Then suddenly 8 DTs warp in or 6 DTs warp in and start wiping out all the hydras. It gives you options. And it's also very useful late game if the Zerg ever goes Ultralisk and you make DT cannon battery. DTs with cannon battery destroy Ultralisk, which is how they will try to break your cannon battery sometimes. It could happen. What's the right time to build a forge? After you start the third. The right time to make a forge is when you take your second Stargate and Fleet Beacon after the third base. Your very first 3-base setup is very important. Your third base was super fucking late. Your third base should be started off of 2 gateways and a Stargate, and that's it. And then you add on a forge, and then you add on a Fleet Beacon, and then you add on a Stargate, a second Stargate, and then you add on more gateways, and then you add on your council. And then once you have a third base fully saturated, and then you add on a fourth base, and then you add on a Templar Archives. The fact that you're 3-basing skytoss is not great, because skytoss sucks ass on 2 base. It's not great on 3 base. It kind of needs 4 base. You need to have a good economy for skytoss. It fucking sucks if you don't, and you know why that is? I'm guaranteeing you right now, you will never beat a Zerg who knows how to macro with fucking 7 carriers at 11 minutes. The only reason why this guy got crushed by you is because he doesn't know how to macro. Like, he's not great at it. If you have 7 carriers at 11 minutes and you're rushing skytoss, that is horrible. If you would have done the thing I was talking about where I was like, you take your third base and you could have made your carriers at 5:45 either way. Remember how I said that? If you would have taken your fourth base like at 7 minutes, way sooner than you did. Like when your third base got saturated, you take your fourth base. Like your fourth base starts at like 6:30 to 7 minutes. That's like when your third base was finishing. If your fourth base, or your third base finished at like 7:10, 7:15. But if your fourth base is started at like 6:30 to 7 minutes, you could actually right now at 11 minutes, I'm dead serious, with fucking carriers, the way this game has gone, you could have double the carrier count you have right now. You could have 14 carriers right now, and your supply could be like 180. Easy. With Archon carrier. And you could also have cannons and batteries at your bases at 11 minutes. That's very realistic. And the reason why this didn't happen is because you just kind of stopped making probes and you stopped doing shit with your economy. Like, once you got to that 2-base saturation, you just went full-blown fucking skytoss. And then your economy was just like, like in waves, but not consistent. It just fell apart. So work on that, and this build will feel way stronger against Zerg. It'll feel so much better. Because you actually are not building skytoss faster. You're not doing like some weird timing where it's like, skytoss all in, and he's dead in the first 6 minutes. You're ramping up to max supply either way. You're just doing it really fucking slow if you just prioritize this kind of shit way too fast. Because you can't afford it. If we were to go back in this game, I guarantee if we go back in this game and we look at your Stargates and your gateways, I guarantee there is a shitload of time in both of these buildings combined where there's just idle, 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 idle. No production, idle. And the thing about it too is 2 Stargates is fucking garbage for skytoss as well. Like in terms of maxing out. You know how many Stargates you should have? 1 to 3 base, 1 to 4 base. As soon as you're on 4 base, make like 4 more and go to 5 Stargates. That's about what you should be aiming for. And that's like, if you know you have the ability to do that, if you scout a Zerg who's not going to be all in as fuck, that's great. If you scout a Zerg who looks like he's going to be aggressive, you could actually go 1 to 3 base, 2 Stargates. Once you have 3 base, you go to 2 then. You could then do 2 Stargate into 4th base. And then once you have a 4th base, you could go all the way up to 5 Stargates. Like, having like 5 Stargate production is amazing when you're going skytoss. And then you just chrono boost all of your Stargates constantly. That is way better than what you did this game in terms of actually giving you a real army. Because your army, again, is very, very, very tiny for the time of the game that it should be at. But anyways, I hope that helps. It's definitely, you're pacing slowly, and if you do the things I was talking about, I bet it'll help you a lot at speeding up your pacing and make you feel stronger. But thank you guys for watching. Atomic Koopa, thank you again for purchasing this, helping him out. And guys, I will see you again in the next one. So if you guys enjoyed it, go find some more. There's shitloads of replay analysis videos that I have on YouTube, tons of bronze GM stuff, lots of stuff you can learn from in StarCraft, coaching lessons, all that crap. But thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, good luck and take it easy. Later, guys.